This video provides a deep dive into the body's physiological systems, exploring how organs and tissues work in harmony to maintain homeostasis. By understanding the dynamic interactions within the cardiovascular, respiratory, nervous, renal, and endocrine systems, you will develop a foundational knowledge essential for diagnosing and managing diseases. If you want to take a deep dive into MBBS, then check out our MBBS Essentials course. Link is in the description. Cell physiology. Cell physiology is the study of the functions and processes that occur within cells. Cells are the fundamental units of life, and their intricate activities underpin the survival, growth, and development of all living organisms. This field focuses on understanding the mechanisms that govern cellular processes, such as energy production, signal transduction, communication, metabolism, and homeostasis. As cells are the building blocks of tissues, organs, and systems, comprehending their physiology is essential for advancing fields like molecular biology, genetics, biochemistry, and medicine. Cell structure and organelles. Cells are highly organized structures composed of various components that perform specific functions essential for cell survival and functionality. While cells can be broadly categorized into prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, the latter is much more complex and possesses distinct organelles. Prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are simpler in structure, lacking membrane-bound organelles. They include bacteria and archaea, and their cellular functions are performed within the plasma membrane and cytoplasm. Despite their simplicity, prokaryotic cells exhibit fundamental processes such as reproduction, metabolism, and adaptation. Eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells, found in animals, plants, fungi, and protists, are highly compartmentalized with distinct organelles that contribute to their diverse functions. The key organelles include nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell, housing the cell's genetic material deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. It directs cellular activities through the transcription of genetic information into ribonucleic acid, RNA, and protein synthesis. Mitochondria. Known as the powerhouses of the cell, mitochondria are responsible for generating ADP, adenosine triphosphate, through cellular respiration, a process essential for supplying energy to cellular functions. Endoplasmic reticulum, ER. The ER is a vast network of membranes that plays a critical role in protein and lipid synthesis. It is divided into rough ER, with ribosomes for protein synthesis, and smooth ER, involved in lipid metabolism and detoxification. Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus modifies, sorts, and packages proteins and lipids produced in the ER for distribution to different parts of the cell or secretion outside the cell. Lysosomes. These membrane-bound vesicles contain digestive enzymes that break down cellular waste and foreign materials, ensuring cellular recycling and maintaining homeostasis. Ribosomes. Ribosomes are responsible for translating messenger RNA, mRNA, into proteins. They are either free-floating in the cytoplasm or attached to the rough ER. Plasma membrane. The plasma membrane serves as a selective barrier, regulating the passage of substances in and out of the cell while maintaining structural integrity. Anabolism. Anabolic processes involve the synthesis of complex molecules, e.g., proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids from simpler ones. These reactions are energy-consuming and essential for cell growth, repair, and maintenance. Catabolism. Catabolic reactions break down complex molecules into simpler ones, releasing energy in the form of ADP. Cellular respiration is the most prominent catabolic pathway that provides energy necessary for various cellular functions. Cell signaling and communication. Cells communicate through a complex network of signaling pathways that allow them to respond to internal and external stimuli. This communication is crucial for maintaining homeostasis tissue development, immune responses, and adaptation to environmental changes. Types of signaling. Endocrine signaling involves the release of hormones into the bloodstream, allowing distant target cells to respond to hormonal signals. Paracrine signaling occurs when signaling molecules act on nearby cells within the local vicinity. This form of signaling is crucial for coordinating activities between neighboring cells. Autocrine signaling, a self-signaling mechanism where a cell produces signaling molecules that act on its own receptors to regulate its own functions. Synaptic signaling, found in the nervous system, synaptic signaling involves the transmission of signals between neurons through neurotransmitters. Cell cycle and division. Cell division is a highly regulated process ensuring proper growth, development, and repair. Eukaryotic cells undergo a series of stages collectively known as the cell cycle, which includes interphase, consists of 3 phases. G1 phase, cell growth and preparation for DNA replication. S phase, DNA replication occurs, preparing the cell for division. G2 phase, final preparations for mitosis, including synthesis of proteins needed for chromosome segregation. Mitosis, the process of cell division resulting in 2 identical daughter cells. Mitosis is divided into phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis. Meiosis, a specialized form of cell division that occurs in germ cells, sperm, and eggs to produce haploid cells with half the number of chromosomes. This process involves 2 rounds of division, meiosis I and meiosis II, crucial for genetic diversity. Cell homeostasis and transport mechanisms. Cell homeostasis refers to the maintenance of a stable internal environment to regulate the exchange of substances between the cell and its external environment. Cells utilize various transport mechanisms. Passive transport includes diffusion and osmosis, where molecules move from areas of higher concentration to lower concentration without requiring energy. Active transport involves the movement of substances against their concentration gradient, requiring energy in the form of ADP. Examples include the sodium-potassium pump, Na/K ADPase. Endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis allows cells to engulf extracellular materials via vesicles, while exocytosis enables the expulsion of substances from a cell. Cellular diseases and disorders. Disruptions in normal cellular functions can lead to various diseases. Common examples include cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, metabolic disorders, and infections. Understanding the physiology of cells provides a foundation for developing treatments that target specific cellular pathways and restore normal function. Cell physiology is a fundamental area of study that examines the structure, function, and behavior of cells in a living organism. By understanding cellular processes such as metabolism, signaling, communication, and division, scientists and medical professionals can better understand disease mechanisms and develop effective therapies for various medical conditions. Neurophysiology. Neurophysiology is a specialized branch of physiology that focuses on the functioning of a nervous system and how neurons communicate with one another to coordinate body functions. The nervous system is responsible for controlling and coordinating body activities, including sensory perception, motor control, and higher cognitive processes. It operates through the electrical and chemical signaling mechanisms of neurons and their interaction with other cells, making neurophysiology a fundamental area of study for understanding brain and nerve function. Structure of the nervous system. The nervous system is broadly divided into 2 main components: the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. Both components work together to regulate and control the body's internal environment and respond to external stimuli. Central nervous system, CNS. The CNS consists of the brain and spinal cord. It is the control center for processing information, making decisions, and coordinating responses to various stimuli. Peripheral nervous system, PNS. The PNS includes all the nerves and ganglia outside the CNS. It connects the CNS to muscles, organs, and sensory receptors, allowing for communication between the body and the brain. Neuron structure and function. Neurons are the building blocks of the nervous system, responsible for transmitting signals between different parts of the body. They consist of specialized structures designed to carry out their primary functions of receiving, transmitting, and processing electrical and chemical signals. Neuron components. Dendrites. Dendrites are the branching structures at the beginning of a neuron that receive signals from other neurons or sensory receptors. These signals are transmitted toward the cell body. Cell body soma. The soma houses the nucleus and other organelles that maintain the cell's metabolic functions. It integrates incoming signals from dendrites and initiates action potentials if the signal is strong enough. Axon. The axon is a long, slender projection that conducts electrical impulses away from the neuron cell body toward other neurons, muscles, or glands. Axon terminals. At the end of the axon terminals release neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft to transmit signals to the next neuron or effector cells. Myelin sheath. Myelin is a lipid-rich substance that insulates axons, allowing electrical signals to travel faster along the axon through a process known as saltatory conduction. Nerve signal transmission. Neurophysiology focuses on how neurons transmit signals across synapses through electrical impulses and chemical neurotransmitters. Resting membrane potential. At rest, neurons maintain a negative electrical charge inside relative to the extracellular environment, typically around -70 MV. This difference is established and maintained by the active transport of ions across the plasma membrane through channels and pumps. Action potential. An action potential is a rapid, transient change in membrane potential that occurs when a neuron is stimulated beyond a threshold. This process involves several phases. Depolarization. Voltage-gated sodium channels open, allowing ions to flow into the neuron, making the inside of the cell more positive. Repolarization. Following depolarization, voltage-gated potassium channels open, allowing K ions to exit the neuron, restoring the resting membrane potential. Hyperpolarization. After repolarization, the membrane may become more negative than the resting potential temporarily before returning to equilibrium. Synaptic transmission. Communication between neurons occurs at synapses, which consist of a presynaptic neuron, sending signal, a synaptic cleft, and a postsynaptic neuron, receiving signal. When an action potential reaches the axon terminal, neurotransmitters are released into the synaptic cleft, where they bind to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron, triggering a new action potential. Neurotransmitters and signal integration. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that facilitate communication between neurons by transmitting signals across synapses. There are numerous neurotransmitters, each with distinct roles in regulating different aspects of behavior and physiological functions. Excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters. Excitatory neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters increase the likelihood of an action potential in the postsynaptic neuron. For example, glutamate is the primary excitatory neurotransmitter in the CNS. Inhibitory neurotransmitters. Inhibitory neurotransmitters decrease the likelihood of an action potential. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA, is a key inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain. Sensory and motor function. The nervous system is responsible for both sensory input and motor output. Sensory neurons transmit signals from sensory receptors to the CNS, where they are processed and interpreted. Motor neurons transmit signals from the CNS to effector organs, muscles, and glands, enabling movement and other bodily functions. Sensory function. Sensory neurons detect stimuli from the environment, e.g., touch, temperature, light, and send this information to the brain for interpretation. Motor function. Motor neurons carry signals from the brain and spinal cord to muscles, causing contraction or relaxation in response to stimuli. Neuroplasticity and learning. Neurophysiology also explores the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize itself in response to experience and injury, a concept known as neuroplasticity. This adaptability plays a critical role in learning, memory formation, and recovery from brain injuries. Diseases and disorders of the nervous system. Understanding neurophysiology is essential for diagnosing and treating neurological disorders, such as epilepsy, a disorder characterized by abnormal electrical activity in the brain, leading to seizures. Parkinson's disease, a neurodegenerative disorder caused by the death of dopamine-producing neurons, leading to motor dysfunction. Multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disorder where the immune system attacks the myelin sheath of neurons, disrupting signal transmission. Neurophysiology provides a comprehensive understanding of how the nervous system functions at both the cellular and systemic levels. From the generation and transmission of electrical impulses to complex behaviors and neuroplasticity, neurophysiology is a dynamic field that plays a crucial role in understanding and addressing various neurological conditions. Cardiovascular physiology. Cardiovascular physiology is the study of the functions and mechanisms that regulate the heart, blood vessels, and the flow of blood throughout the body. The cardiovascular system plays a crucial role in maintaining homeostasis by delivering oxygen and nutrients to tissues, removing waste products, and regulating blood pressure and circulation. This complex system involves the heart as the central pump, blood vessels for transportation, and blood as the medium for carrying essential substances to and from cells. Structure and function of the heart. The heart is a muscular, hollow organ that functions as the primary pump of the cardiovascular system. It consists of 4 chambers, 2 atria and 2 ventricles, separated by valves to ensure unidirectional blood flow. Anatomy of the heart. Atria. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the body through the superior and inferior vena cava. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs via the pulmonary veins. Ventricles. The right ventricle pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation through the pulmonary arteries. The left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood to the entire body via the aorta. Valves. The heart is equipped with 4 main valves: atrioventricular valves, tricuspid, right, and bicuspid/mitral, left. Valves ensure blood flows from the atria to the ventricles. Semilunar valves, pulmonary valve, right, and aortic valve, left, prevent backflow of blood into the ventricles. Pericardium. The pericardium is a protective sac surrounding the heart, providing structural support and reducing friction during contractions. Cardiac cycle. The cardiac cycle consists of a series of events that occur in one heartbeat, including both systole, contraction, and diastole, relaxation. Phases of the cardiac cycle. Atrial systole. During atrial systole, the atria contract, pushing blood into the ventricles. Ventricular systole. Following atrial systole, the ventricles contract, forcing blood out into the pulmonary arteries, right ventricle, and aorta, left ventricle. Diastole. During diastole, both atria and ventricles relax, allowing them to refill with blood from the veins. Electrical conduction system. The heart relies on a specialized electrical conduction system to generate and propagate action potentials, ensuring coordinated contractions. Conduction pathway. Sinoatrial, SA node. The SA node, located in the right atrium, generates the initial action potential that sets the heart rate. It is often referred to as the natural pacemaker of the heart. Atrioventricular of node. The AV node, located between the atria and ventricles, relays the action potential to the ventricles, slowing it down to allow proper ventricular filling. Bundle of his. The bundle of his conducts the action potential down the interventricular septum toward the ventricles. Purkinje fibers. The Purkinje fibers distribute the action potential throughout the ventricular myocardium, causing the ventricles to contract. Blood flow and circulation. The cardiovascular system is divided into two main circulatory loops: the systemic circulation and the pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation. Deoxygenated blood is pumped from the right ventricle through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs, where it is oxygenated. Systemic circulation. Oxygenated blood flows from the left ventricle through the aorta to supply tissues and organs throughout the body. Deoxygenated blood returns to the right atrium via the vena cava. Cardiac output and regulation. Cardiac output, CO, is the amount of blood the heart pumps per minute and is influenced by heart rate, HR, and stroke volume, SV. It is a critical factor for understanding cardiovascular health and function. Factors affecting cardiac output. Heart rate, HR. Heart rate is regulated by the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions, which adjust the frequency of action potentials generated by the SA node. Stroke volume, SV. Stroke volume is the volume of blood ejected from each ventricle per heartbeat and is influenced by factors such as preload, afterload, and myocardial contractility. Blood pressure and vascular physiology. Blood pressure is the force exerted by circulating blood on the walls of blood vessels. It is an essential measure for assessing cardiovascular health and detecting diseases such as hypertension and hypotension. Components of blood pressure. Systolic pressure, the highest pressure during ventricular contraction. Diastolic pressure, the lowest pressure during ventricular relaxation. Vascular system. Blood vessels are categorized based on function. Arteries carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. Veins return deoxygenated blood back to the heart. Capillaries, microscopic vessels where the exchange of gases, nutrients, and waste occurs between blood and tissues. Regulation of cardiovascular physiology. The cardiovascular system is tightly regulated by neural, hormonal, and local mechanisms to maintain homeostasis and adapt to varying physiological demands. Regulation of cardiovascular physiology. The cardiovascular system is tightly regulated by neural, hormonal, and local mechanisms to maintain homeostasis and adapt to varying physiological demands.
Regulation of cardiovascular physiology. The cardiovascular system is tightly regulated by neural, hormonal, and local mechanisms to maintain homeostasis and adapt to varying physiological demands. Neural regulation. The autonomic nervous system, ANS, modulates heart rate and vascular tone through the medulla oblongata. Hormonal regulation. Hormones such as adrenaline, angiotensin II, and antidiuretic hormone, ADH, play significant roles in regulating blood pressure and fluid balance. Pathophysiology of cardiovascular disorders. Cardiovascular diseases, CVDs, encompass a range of conditions, including coronary artery disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, and hypertension. Understanding cardiovascular physiology is essential for diagnosing, managing, and treating these conditions. Cardiovascular physiology is an intricate field that explores the heart's structure and function, blood flow dynamics, and the regulation of cardiovascular health. From maintaining blood pressure to coordinating electrical signals for heartbeats, the cardiovascular system ensures efficient circulation, oxygenation, and nutrient delivery to the body's tissues and organs. Advances in understanding this physiology have significantly contributed to the development of interventions and treatments for cardiovascular diseases. Respiratory physiology. Respiratory physiology is the study of how the respiratory system functions to facilitate the exchange of gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, between the body and the environment. This vital system ensures that oxygen is delivered to tissues and organs for cellular metabolism while expelling carbon dioxide, a byproduct of cellular respiration. The respiratory system works in coordination with the cardiovascular system to maintain homeostasis and meet the body's metabolic demands. Structure and function of the respiratory system. The respiratory system is composed of several anatomical structures that work together to perform its primary function: gas exchange. It is divided into two main parts, the conducting zone and the respiratory zone. Conducting zone. The conducting zone consists of structures that transport air to the sites of gas exchange. These structures do not participate directly in gas exchange, but play a crucial role in warming, humidifying, and filtering air. Nasal cavity. Air enters through the nostrils and is filtered by nasal hairs and mucous membranes. The nasal cavity also warms and humidifies the air to prevent damage to the lungs. Pharynx. Shared pathway for both air and food, the pharynx directs air into the trachea and food into the esophagus. Larynx. The larynx, or voice box, is responsible for voice production and protection of the airway during swallowing. It contains the vocal cords and is involved in controlling the flow of air into the lungs. Trachea. The trachea, or windpipe, extends from the larynx to the bronchi and is supported by cartilage rings to keep it open for air passage. Bronchi and bronchioles. The trachea divides into two main bronchi, which lead to the lungs, and further branch into smaller bronchi and bronchioles. These structures distribute air throughout the lungs. Respiratory zone. The respiratory zone includes structures where gas exchange occurs, primarily consisting of the alveoli. Alveoli. The alveoli are tiny, balloon-like structures at the ends of bronchioles where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place. These structures have a large surface area and are surrounded by a network of capillaries. Pulmonary capillaries. Capillaries surrounding the alveoli allow for the diffusion of gases between the blood and the air within the alveoli. Mechanics of breathing. Breathing, or respiration, involves the exchange of gases between the atmosphere and the body, facilitated by mechanical processes that create pressure gradients. It consists of two main phases: inhalation, inspiration, and exhalation, expiration. Inspiration, inhalation. During inspiration, the diaphragm contracts and moves downward, while the intercostal muscles contract to expand the thoracic cavity. This increase in volume decreases intrathoracic pressure, drawing air into the lungs. Expiration, exhalation. During expiration, the diaphragm relaxes and rises, while the intercostal muscles relax, decreasing thoracic volume and increasing intrathoracic pressure. This forces air out of the lungs. Gas exchange mechanism. Gas exchange occurs at the alveoli, where oxygen from the air diffuses into the blood, and carbon dioxide from the blood diffuses into the alveoli to be expelled. Diffusion of gases. The exchange of gases occurs via passive diffusion, driven by concentration gradients. Oxygen moves from the alveoli, where its concentration is higher, into the blood, while carbon dioxide moves from the blood, where its concentration is higher, into the alveoli. Partial pressures. Gases move from areas of higher partial pressure to areas of lower partial pressure. In the lungs, oxygen diffuses from the alveoli, higher partial pressure, into the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood, higher partial pressure, into the alveoli. Control of breathing respiration is primarily controlled by the respiratory center located in the medulla oblongata and pons of the brainstem. This control is influenced by feedback from chemoreceptors, mechanoreceptors, and other regulatory systems. Chemoreceptor regulation. Peripheral chemoreceptors in the carotid bodies and aortic arch detect changes in blood oxygen, O2, carbon dioxide, CO2, and pH levels. An increase in CO2 or a decrease in pH triggers the respiratory centers to increase ventilation to expel excess carbon dioxide. Mechanical regulation. Mechanoreceptors in the lungs and chest wall monitor the stretch and pressure changes in the respiratory system and adjust breathing patterns accordingly. Ventilation and perfusion. Ventilation refers to the movement of air in and out of the lungs, while perfusion involves the flow of blood through the pulmonary capillaries. Efficient gas exchange occurs when ventilation and perfusion are matched appropriately. Ventilation-perfusion ratio, VQ ratio. A balanced VQ ratio ensures optimal gas exchange. If ventilation exceeds perfusion, low VQ ratio, or if perfusion exceeds ventilation, high VQ ratio, the efficiency of gas exchange is compromised, potentially leading to conditions like hypoxia or hypercapnia. Respiratory disorders. Understanding respiratory physiology is essential for diagnosing and treating various respiratory disorders. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a progressive lung disease characterized by airway obstruction, often due to conditions like emphysema or chronic bronchitis. Asthma, a condition involving inflammation and narrowing of the airways, leading to difficulty in breathing and wheezing. Pneumonia, an infection of the lungs where alveoli fill with fluid or pus, impairing gas exchange. Pulmonary edema, excess fluid accumulation in the lungs, leading to impaired oxygen diffusion and respiratory distress. Respiratory physiology is a critical field that explores the mechanisms underlying breathing, gas exchange, and the regulation of respiratory function. The coordination of anatomical structures and physiological processes ensures efficient oxygen delivery and carbon dioxide elimination. Advances in understanding respiratory physiology continue to enhance the diagnosis and treatment of respiratory diseases, contributing to improved patient outcomes. Renal physiology. Renal physiology focuses on the study of the structure and function of the kidneys and their critical role in maintaining homeostasis in the body. The kidneys are essential for regulating the composition and volume of bodily fluids, excreting waste products, and maintaining electrolyte balance, blood pressure, and acid-base equilibrium. Through various processes such as filtration, reabsorption, secretion, and excretion, the kidneys ensure the efficient removal of toxins while conserving essential nutrients. Structure of the kidneys. The kidneys are paired, bean-shaped organs located on either side of the spine, beneath the diaphragm. Each kidney is composed of distinct structures that contribute to its overall function. A. Anatomical components. Cortex. The outer region of the kidney, known as the cortex, contains millions of microscopic functional units called nephrons. Medulla. The medulla is the inner region of the kidney, where the concentration of urine is regulated. Pelvis. The renal pelvis collects urine from the nephrons and funnels it into the ureters for excretion. Nephrons. The nephron is the functional unit of the kidney, composed of a renal corpuscle, Bowman's capsule and glomerulus, and a tubule system, proximal tubule, loop of Henle, distal tubule, and collecting duct. Renal blood supply. The kidneys receive a significant portion of the cardiac output to ensure efficient filtration of blood. The renal arteries branch off from the aorta and deliver blood to the kidneys, where it is filtered through specialized structures. Renal artery and vein blood enters the kidneys via the renal artery, which divides into smaller arterioles. Oxygenated blood is filtered in the nephrons and exits through the renal vein. Functions of the kidneys. The kidneys perform a variety of functions essential for maintaining homeostasis. These include filtration. Blood entering the kidneys is filtered at the level of the glomerulus. Excess fluids, electrolytes, and waste products such as urea and creatinine are removed, forming a filtrate that will eventually become urine. Reabsorption. Essential substances such as glucose, amino acids, and certain ions are reabsorbed into the bloodstream from the renal tubules, while waste products are further concentrated. Secretion. In addition to filtration, the kidneys secrete certain substances such as hydrogen ions and potassium into the tubules for elimination in urine, helping regulate pH and electrolyte balance. The nephron, functional unit of the kidney. The nephron plays a crucial role in urine formation through a series of steps involving filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Renal corpuscle. The initial step of urine formation begins at the renal corpuscle, which includes glomerulus, a network of capillaries where blood filtration occurs. Bowman's capsule, a cup-shaped structure that collects the filtrate from the glomerulus. Tubule system. After filtration, the filtrate passes through the tubular system. Proximal tubule reabsorbs nutrients, water, and electrolytes. Loop of Henle regulates water and sodium reabsorption, creating a concentration gradient essential for concentrating urine. Distal tubule adjusts the composition of the urine by further reabsorbing ions and water. Collecting duct. Final reabsorption of water occurs here under the influence of antidiuretic hormone, ADH, which concentrates the urine. Renal processes. The kidneys regulate bodily fluids and maintain the balance of ions, pH, and blood pressure through several interconnected processes. Glomerular filtration. Blood enters the glomerulus, where it is filtered at a high pressure. The resulting filtrate includes water, ions, waste products, and other solutes that are later processed in the nephron. Tubular reabsorption. Nutrients, such as glucose, amino acids, and essential ions, are reabsorbed from the filtrate back into the bloodstream. Tubular secretion. Substances such as hydrogen ions, potassium, and certain drugs are actively secreted into the tubules to be eliminated in urine. Regulation of water and electrolyte balance. The kidneys play a critical role in balancing the volume and composition of body fluids. Key electrolytes regulated by the kidneys include sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphate, and bicarbonate. Sodium and water balance sodium reabsorption in the distal tubule and collecting ducts, controlled by aldosterone, regulates water retention and blood pressure. Potassium regulation. The kidneys help maintain potassium balance by selectively excreting excess potassium through the distal tubules. Acid-base balance. The kidneys play a crucial role in maintaining the body's pH by excreting hydrogen ions and reabsorbing bicarbonate ions to buffer acidic or basic conditions. Hormonal regulation. Several hormones regulate kidney function, influencing processes such as filtration, reabsorption, and the concentration of urine. Aldosterone. Aldosterone is secreted by the adrenal glands and promotes sodium and water reabsorption in the distal tubules, increasing blood volume and pressure. Antidiuretic hormone, ADH, also known as vasopressin, controls the reabsorption of water in the collecting ducts, leading to the concentration of urine. Renal disorders. Understanding renal physiology is essential for diagnosing and managing various kidney diseases and disorders, such as chronic kidney disease, CKD, progressive loss of kidney function over time, leading to the accumulation of waste products and electrolyte imbalances. Acute kidney injury, AKI, rapid loss of kidney function often due to injury, toxins, or infections. Glomerulonephritis, inflammation of the glomeruli, affecting filtration and potentially leading to proteinuria and kidney damage. Polycystic kidney disease, PKD, a genetic disorder characterized by the formation of cysts in the kidneys, leading to progressive kidney damage. Renal physiology is a fundamental aspect of maintaining homeostasis in the body. Through the processes of filtration, reabsorption, secretion, and excretion, the kidneys regulate vital functions such as fluid balance, electrolyte homeostasis, and waste removal. Understanding these processes is crucial for diagnosing and managing renal disorders, thereby contributing to improved patient outcomes.